Welcome to Death and Aliens, an in-depth look at horror and sci-fi TV from two friends who vaguely know what they're doing. I'm MK.
And I'm Courtney.
And that sounds so peppy.
We just had a quick break and we were not peppy, so it was a little off-putting.
I am much more cheerful than I was in the episode we started recording an hour ago because one of my little Thai babies has been texting me about how he misses me and how much coffee I drink.
It's precious.
The cutest.
Precious. And I was talking about how I am back to drinking my full caffeine, and I am now medicated and caffeinated, which is excellent because I could not drink caffeine with Lexapro, but I can with Prozac. So
I'm also medicated and caffeinated and apparently posing for Sears glamour shots.
Absolutely. Good times. My hair's too long and not up. I need like a high pulley.
We are going to change the name of this podcast to Medicated and Caffeinated. Just kidding, but it was a funny joke.
It would explain everything.
Yeah.
So, tight summary of our lives. So speaking of lives, any new updates you want to talk about? What did you tell us?
I said that my week was long and horrible. I saw the band's Visit on Saturday.
Oh, how was it?
The music is absolutely beautiful.
The
story leaves you very unsettled. It's very much, there's no resolution to the play. It's very much this is a moment in time. And that's all it is, which
I see.
In a way is beautiful. But like one of my coworkers, the director of operations at my theater, him and I were talking about it, and we were like, it's just not the right show for where the world is today.
Yeah.
Like when the show came out in 2018, it was groundbreaking, beautiful, whatever. But post-pandemic, it doesn't give you the escape that you need theater to be in this moment.
That's fair.
Like I was saying, like it would be the difference between putting on like a Tartuffe, like a Moliere play versus a Mother Courage right now. Like that's just
I do not know those words. I'm so sorry.
Moliere is a French playwright who wrote like super, super shticky like comedies. Like they're the like French high comedy plays from the like 1700s. Okay. And Mother Courage is written by Bertolt Brecht, who is a German nihilistic abstract playwright.
Yes, very different things.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah. And so it was beautiful. It's also an hour and 43 minutes with no intermission.
Even when they're short, I just want like a quick intermission. I don't need it to be long. I just want a little something in the middle.
2 hours is a long time to sit.
Yeah. You're telling me.
But I did like it. And the cast was wonderful people.
Anyone I know? I was like the traveling cast.
It's a traveling cast. Nobody really famous. I mean, the lead actor, Sassoon Gabe, is super famous, but it's because famous in the sense that he was in the movie that originally the Broadway musical is based off of, and he's a super famous actor in Israel. But like,
gotcha. I do not know that movie though either. I've not seen it either.
Also, if you're not in Israel,
right. I'm also not in Israel, so that's true.
Yeah, but that was the highlight of my week.
Well, my week and month are just getting started because my birthday is on the 12th. I don't know what day this comes out on a Wednesday after my birthday. It comes
out on the 17th.
But this whole month is my birthday. So be prepared. But I am stoked because my friend who I went to that haunted soiree with, like, I don't know, a couple weeks back. I don't know. Time's irrelevant. And so he lives in Long Island, and I have a friend who lives in Jersey, and then we have another friend who I want to say she lives in Minnesota. She flies a lot, so they're coming in this weekend, and Noelle's birthday's the 10th, and mine's the 12th. So we're gonna go out on the 11th and do like they're gonna come meet me at the bar and have a couple drinks there, and then we're gonna go do karaoke somewhere and live it up. And Kathy told me I could have off on Friday without losing a sick day. So
That's very
don't tell anybody.
This episode comes out on the 17th, which is the day my sister and my niece get here for Thanksgiving.
Aww, that's very exciting.
It is. I get baby love.
It's still my birthday.
This will come out after your birthday. I will make a big deal of your birthday on your birthday, but this episode will come out after your birthday.
No, it's always my birthday. Me and Rachel are celebrating. Oh, we're celebrating Christmas over Thanksgiving. We celebrated our birthdays when I moved her to Michigan. Instead of like trying to buy gifts for each other because we keep moving and being in small places and such. So we just pick a time and we celebrate both. So she's coming in for Thanksgiving and we're going to celebrate Christmas.
I told my students that if I hear any Christmas music in my classroom before Thanksgiving, I will give them detention.
Well, don't come to the long room. We're not playing Christmas music, but we have Christmas decorations up. When I left Saturday, I almost closed. I sat there till they closed. There were already decorations up and more people had come in to put in decorations when we were leaving at 2 a.m. So
I have Thanksgiving.
It's a real Christmassy.
I have Thanksgiving decorations in my classroom.
See, I don't have, these are all of my decorations. You can see if you're on YouTube, all of them.
I mean, okay, I have Thanksgiving decorations, but I also still have some of my Halloween decorations because some of my Halloween decorations, I bought a bunch of crow statues for my classroom and then decided they're staying forever because I'm really just a wicked witch with crows.
I did that I had from the little Target $3 section or whatever. Yeah. I got these little pictures that were Edgar Allan Poe poems, and two of them had crows on them, or ravens on them, obviously. Okay. And I put them up and I was like, oh, these are super cute. And then I left them up all year round. I was like, now they're my decorations. And then I threw them out when I left New Orleans because I had too many things.
Well, I collect birds.
Yeah, I don't care so much about birds, but I do like Halloween and I do like Edgar Allan Poe. So ravens are fine.
I just love birds.
Ravens are terrifying. They're geniuses.
They're also so much bigger than people realize. Like actual ravens, huge.
They memorize faces.
That's why I say that the ones in my classrooms are crows, because like their faces are probably a little bit more raven-like than crow because they're Halloween decorations, and like one of them is like sitting on a skull and everything, but really they're not ravens. Yeah, so ravens are huge.
Yeah, ravens are awesome.
The ravens.
There's a great
at the
ologies episode about blackbirds.
There's a superstition in England that if the ravens ever leave the tower, the British Empire will fall. So they have these huge, huge ravens that they feed and keep at the Tower of London. And I don't think that anyone really believes this prophecy, but like superstition. So they have these pet ravens that sometimes they like let go out for walks, and
I'm so down.
So big.
Because you've heard, well, if you believe the conspiracy, have you heard the one that birds are not real? It's my favorite. They say that people are like, you've never seen a baby bird. Birds are just, or maybe it's pigeons specifically, I don't remember. They're government drones. They're not, birds aren't real. I was like, I've definitely seen baby birds like constantly. But I really love a conspiracy to make other people believe in it. So I'd like to propagate it. I
have hatched birds myself. I worked in an aviary. I'm obsessed with birds.
That's my favorite one. I really like
that conspiracy theory though, just because it makes me laugh, because it would explain why so many people are afraid of birds for no reason.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like birds. I'm not afraid of them. I'm annoyed by them. They're in my way all the time.
Oh, I'm still to this day angry that I can't get a bird to land in my hand just by existing.
We need to go to the zoo.
No, I mean I've had birds that like I fed and they landed on me in like zoo areas, but like whenever I'm out in a park,
Like Snow White.
yeah, like I'm a Disney princess. When I sing, you should land on my hand. Like I'm not sure why we haven't gotten that far yet.
You need to make a crow friend who remembers you. Yeah. So this has been a grand talking about all of our lives and birds, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to tell you about our show Dead Like Me.
What a transition.
Look, I didn't know where to go. Birds? You want me to transition from birds into this episode? Because they do not go together. There's not even a bird in this episode, probably.
No. Birds would have worked with the last episode, but not this one.
Exactly. So this is episode 4 of Dead Like Me, and it's called Repercussions, which is very fitting.
Repercussions.
Oh.
That's how it's spelled. It's spelled like.
Is it?
Yeah, it's REA.
I didn't even look at the way it was spelled. I truly just like looked at it. I meant to look at the blurb too and forgot.
It's
Reaper.
It's Reaper.
I read it and then I was like, I know how to spell that. I'll write it down.
Yeah.
So that's an excellent title, like I said. It aired on July 18th, 2003. I
was still 11.
Good times. Still 11. Nope, I am 10.
I was gonna say, wait, no, because you're not turning 30 this week.
I am not. You're correct. I'm turning 29. I'm also not turning 35. But this episode was kind of short. It was 41 minutes long. It was fine.
It felt really fast though.
It did feel really fast. Which again was fine with me. And the rating was 8 out of 10, which I thought was a fair rating. It was one of the higher one. I don't remember what episode 1 was rated,
8.
but the rest of them. Okay, so it's the second highest then, because all of the rest of them have been right under 8.
Yes.
And then I came to read you the blurb of episode 4. Well, I see now how it's spelled now. Mm-hmm. The blurb says George finds a loophole in the Reaper rules and decides to spare her next mark, but quickly learns that if you flip off fate flings it right back in your face tenfold, which is real true. So, the director of this episode was Peter Lauer, so I will not be telling you the same things we told you last week because you already know them now.
Yeah.
But I will tell you some new things about him. He also directed some music videos and worked in music stuff. He directed Run's House by Run DMC and It Takes Two by Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, which are, that's the one. Such fun songs. And if you haven't heard these songs, you should pause us and go listen because they are wonderful.
Truthfully, I have never heard the original It Takes Two. I've just heard the Lil Romeo remix.
Oh my gosh. God bless.
What? It was on the Jimmy Neutron soundtrack.
Oh no. Do we need to pause this so you can go listen to it? Because you got to hear this song too. That is the next thing you have to do when we get off.
The Jimmy Neutron soundtrack is a fucking bop.
Look, I had the Jimmy Neutron video game on DS and I loved it. So I'm not here to knock Jimmy. I'm down with Jimmy, but
hey, Jimmy.
The original's the best. That was excellent. I loved that. So the writers of this episode were, of course, Brian Fuller. He's on all the episodes. Des E. Fesman. He was known as a producer for NCIS and Grimm, which are probably excellent.
NCIS. Wait, have you never seen NCIS?
I have not. Both are on my list. I have watched like 3 episodes of Grimm because I love the Grimm Tales.
Wait, NCIS. I think it's on season 17 now or something.
7,000, yes. I'm familiar.
It was the best show.
Okay, well, maybe I'll watch it after I finish Castle and then watch Criminal Minds and then NCIS.
Okay. I would accept those because those are 3 of the best shows ever.
Thank you. I'm on season 2 right now of Castle, so I'm making my way.
Flying through it. The season 1 cliffhanger really threw you off.
It did. Well, there's only 10 episodes in season 1, and I literally took 1 week to watch 2.5 episodes because I kept falling asleep. But it's fine. So, also, Des E. Fesman was a writer on the show Take Two, which I loved. Did you ever watch that when it came out? There's only 1 season. She is not Rachel Bilson. She's the other one.
Misha Barton?
No. Like, she looks like Rachel Bilson. I meant to look up her name because I forgot it. I love her. I also love... Oh, it is Rachel Bilson. JK. Rachel Bilson stars in it.
Okay.
And I adore her. It's like she plays an actress who is kind of Castle-like. She plays an actress who is shadowing a detective to learn her role as a detective actress. I enjoyed it. It was only 1 season though. So
Interestingly, if you Google that show, the first related show is Castle.
That makes sense. It makes sense. Now that I've seen Castle. I watched this when it came out forever ago.
Okay.
So he also wrote on Grimm and NCIS, as well as produced them. So he's excellent, in my opinion. I'm sure he's great. The other writer, because we had 3, was Harry Victor. He's known for a lot of things that I've never seen. But he did some writing on a couple episodes of King of Queens. And I do know that show. I also do, and I want to rewatch it now that I live in New York.
I've been to that house. The house that they filmed the exterior at in...
Where's it at?
It's actually not in Queens, it's in Jersey.
Oh, I haven't been. And I don't go there.
My dad drove us past it because my sister and I... there was a period in time where my sister... I love her, this girl. She's a crackhead. Her 3 crushes in her life, like her big 3. Kevin James, Adam Sandler, and Steve Carell.
Look, she loves a funny man. Who can blame her? And they all are very, like, homely people. Like, no, they're great. Except Cut Gems. I will fight anyone. That was a terrible movie. I don't care what anyone says.
Except for what movie?
Uncut Gems. Uncut Gems.
That's what it's called. It's got like super, super good critical acclaim though.
Yeah. I saw it in theaters and I almost peed on myself because the movie was so long it would never end. I had one of those huge buckets of popcorn from Alamo Drafthouse, so it's like the size of my whole body. I ate the entire thing because I was there so long. And then I got out and I was like, I just am ready to leave.
I might be the only person on planet Earth who enjoyed myself watching Paul Blart Mall Cop 2.
I haven't seen the second one, but I did enjoy the first one. So,
also my favorite movie is Billy Madison.
That's also a funny movie. It's not my favorite. I've just recently, if you follow us on Instagram, I've just recently listed them there. Nightmare Before Christmas and Alice in Wonderland are my comfort movies. If I need a laugh, it's Accepted in Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. Hands down. Those are my favorites.
I used to watch a movie that I know every single word to, that just because I need something happening in the background of my head, it will be one of 5 movies, depending on my mood. If I'm really tired, Titanic, because I will fall asleep. If I want to laugh, Billy Madison. Mm-hmm. If I'm in my feels and I feel like a little kid again and I need like comfort, Beauty and the Beast. If it is like kind of Christmas time and I don't really want to watch a Christmas movie, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Solid pick.
And if I really need to cry, About Time.
And which I still haven't watched, which we've talked about.
Those are my favorites.
Learned how well I know the words to Nightmare Before Christmas when I sang everything at Zach last weekend when we watched it. He was like, you have seen this movie one too many times. I was like, yes. Every time I move, I watch it. Every time it's Halloween, every time it's Christmas, I watch this movie.
My students have been watching West Side Story because we finished reading Romeo and Juliet, and now we're watching West Side Story. And and I didn't realize that I
I
knew
still haven't
every
seen.
single word to West Side Story, both
I want to see it on
spoken
Broadway.
and sung. Not just sung though, spoken.
Yeah.
And sung.
Mm-hmm.
Until I realized I was saying them out loud. Also, Simon Oakland plays Lieutenant Schrank.
I gotta watch West Side Story.
Right. Obviously, I knew Lieutenant Schrank. Like, I knew the character, but I didn't know Simon Oakland. And then I was rewatching it after now falling in love with Simon Oakland. And I was like, this movie
I love when
so
that
much
happens.
more to me now. My 8th grade girls are obsessed with Tony. They think he's the hottest person they've ever seen in a movie. And I'm like, so I showed them pictures of what he looks like now in his 80s. Because I'm a horribly mean person.
That's hilarious. Anyways.
Yeah.
We are really diving off topic this night time. Harry Victor, who we were just speaking of, for writing some episodes of King of Queens. He also has done some acting and producing of also things I did not know. So I just put that he did some things. I'm sure he's lovely. This was a good episode, so I'm sure he's lovely.
I'm sure he's lovely.
The stars are essentially the same. Nothing really new. We do see Marianne Mobley and Gary Collins, who were big in their heyday, playing themselves in a weird commercial, which we will be discussing later. Otherwise, same people. All right, so to get into this episode, we start with, shocker, a narrative exposition by our old friend George. And she's talking about peanut poppies. I meant to look up if these were real or not, and I didn't.
Also didn't look up if they were real or not, but they looked delicious.
They looked excellent, and she talked about them being a Southern, the first thing that pops up, peanut poppy is real. It's a fictional candy. So
they're like salted M&Ms.
Yeah.
Like salted peanut M&Ms.
Which is like, I love the pretzel M&Ms. They're my fave because they're salted pretzels.
I just tried the new fudge brownie M&Ms.
Oh, so good. I had those at 3 a.m. at Gabby's one night. So good. So I was a little skeptical at first because she said they were very popular in the South. And as someone from the South who is a big fan of chocolate, I felt like I would have known if these existed. So of course they do not. So she's going through this whole expedition. We don't know why. Doesn't matter. I really want this candy. So then we start the episode, and George is working with Roxy still. That's kind of where she left off last episode, is Roxy as her babysitter. And we learn that there's a new issue where people may not show up for their death date. And now there's a loophole that George has found. And so the big question is, well, what happens? And Rube says, he's like, it's pretty rare, but sometimes it happens. And just so happened that it was today. So naturally, George gets some ideas.
Hold on. Before that, they're at a meeting when we discussed that this dead person didn't show up to die. Right. They're at the diner having a meeting, and Betty is not there.
That's my next line.
Because my question was, how does a dead person die?
So my thing is, this is another unfair thing about the Grimms. I will be advocating for Grim Reapers for the rest of my life after starting this show. I'm only on episode 4, but I am an advocate now. She is not at the meeting because she's trapped in the morgue as a Jane Doe. And I'm like, they don't even get superpowers to like keep themselves from being in a morgue. Like, I get they're dead, but like, come on. Like, cut them some slack.
How does she die? She didn't die again.
Right? I know. I was like, what'd they do? They found her asleep. They were like, oh, this person's dead. Just throwing her in the morgue. I don't know. And this is this is 2003. We're not like burying people with bells still because we might not have killed them yet. Like,
no. I've realized something. We see what Mason and George look like to people that are not Reapers. Mm-hmm. What does Betty look like?
Maybe she looks dead. Who knows? Maybe they were just like, oh, this person's definitely dead.
Yeah.
Definitely. They look like they might be breathing, but they're definitely not. So who knows? But we'll probably see her. So I assume we'll see all of them at some point. Prediction. That's my prediction. But yeah, so then we switch over. This episode has a lot of switching back and forth between different storylines. So I'm gonna do my best to not just sound like a monotone record. But next we jump back to Reggie and Joy, and Reggie starts calling her mom Joy, and she's not happy about it. So we're seeing all of these like acting out techniques, or like acting out instances that you see in people who are grieving, especially children. So it's like everything that she's doing makes sense for the most part until she...
Before we get to what Reggie actually does to act out, the conversation that they have in the car. Literally. So I watched this episode at work today in my free period. And I was so angry because I have seen this show before. I'm not a Joy fan. Joy was me talking to my students today. Everything that she said in that car, I was like, I said every single part of this to my kids.
It's like when they tell you you turn into your mom, you turn into Joy.
I was so mad because I was like, what the fuck? That is literally everything I've said today.
Oh, that's so funny. I like Joy.
I now relate to Joy on a spiritual level that I did not when I watched the show as a preteen.
I was about to say, but also you were like super young, so you definitely related more with like Reggie and George than you did with Joy.
Absolutely.
And I mean, I still resonate with George pretty heavy.
I still love George. I still get her, but also.
But I also understand Joy. Like, she's not wrong any of the time she said words out loud. She is not wrong. So anyways, we are moving on with Reggie to go into school. And God bless, there's this group of children poking at something. And we hear the narration of George talking about how weird her sister is and all this stuff. So what does she do? She just walks right into this group of kids and picks up a dead bird and puts it in her bag. And it's just like, oh, this kid has no chance.
Which is also why I related to Reggie as Joy.
I was too shy to do weird stuff. Like, I probably was a weird kid, but you didn't know it.
Oh, no.
Like,
I was weird.
I was much shyer. I'm much weirder now than I was as a child, for sure. For sure.
I mean, I would like to say I'm not, but I am.
No. And I also do not hide
started it. Weird.
Yeah. Yeah, I just went 0 to 60. That's fine. So now we're back at the internship with George, and I forgot they call her Millie, so I laughed when I heard Dolores calling her Millie. And she's trying to figure out, she gets this death date confirmation that she's supposed to go find this guy at a time. I don't remember what time it was.
And it was after her lunch, because she asked for a late lunch.
Right. It was after her lunch, and she says, and she's like, well, if Roxy's guy didn't show up, then what if this guy doesn't show up? And I immediately was like, George, you know the rules. You can't interfere. If he doesn't show up, he doesn't show up. But if you interfere, that's a problem. And so I knew it was going to be bad. So she's going to ask Dolores about taking a late lunch so she can go interfere and meddle. And she tells Dolores, they have the weirdest conversation. She tells her, she's like, it's a gyno appointment. And Dolores immediately starts like mouthing. She's like, is it a pap? Is it a pap? And I'm just like, why are we being so awkward? You're both women. You both know how this works. And you're being real like shady about it.
Now, here's the thing. I was 11 in 2003, so I wasn't exactly going to a gynecologist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But my question is, isn't getting a pap smear a fairly regular occurrence?
Every year. Or according to my new doctor, it's every 3 years. My old doctor said every year.
My old doctor told me that it was every 2 unless you were sexually active, and then it was every 1.
Yeah. No, my doctor's one set every year and one set every 3 years. The one I have now is set every 3 years. So
Okay, but it's a regular occurrence. It's
right.
not
No, this is very normal.
Dolores is acting like this is some kind of like
Life or
super
death.
secret life or death procedure. And I was
Yeah.
but the worst part is she then goes into like excruciating detail about the time that she like tried to get a pap smear, but then she couldn't because her muscles were too constricted from laughing. And I've never been so uncomfortable about another.
That's also all I'm going to think of the next time I have to go get a pap smear. Thankfully, 3 years from now. So I'm probably all right. But I could not stop laughing. And oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. I had something else I was going to say about it being regular. Oh no, my brain just quit. Oh well, maybe it'll come back to me later on when it doesn't matter anymore. That's how it works. So anyways, Dolores made it weird for I was going to say, she's like, can I push it back because you keep moving the appointment around? I was like, that's the most real answer you've ever said. Like, do you know how hard it is to get an appointment, first of all? Especially when you have like a specific person you want to go see. You have to plan like a month in advance.
And it's not like they're in a small town. Like the show supposedly takes place in Seattle. That's a big enough city.
Did actually film in Seattle this episode.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But Seattle's a big enough city that like if your gyno asks you to reschedule, you reschedule.
Exactly. So I was like, that is not uncommon. I was like, I've definitely missed work to go to a gyno appointment so that I didn't have to remake one 2 months later. Like, yeah. So you're welcome. This is our health TED talk.
I've missed work to go to the eye doctor. Like if the doctor says this is when your appointment is, that's when I'm going.
Exactly. Yeah. So after Dolores is being really weird, we jump over to Ruben Mason, who are just the lights of this episode. They are part of this slot squaw. There is no D on that shirt, in case you're wondering. They're with all of these old women, and their shirts all say slot squaw. So they're gambling with all the old women. And I don't know. At this point, I'm like, I don't know what's happening. I assume they're going to get a soul, but it's just like snapshots into these other things happening.
Yeah, so they're stealing a soul from old lady, and they have to do it because she's going to die on the airplane or whatever. Mm-hmm. They're flying standby so they can be at the airport. But of course, Rube is insulting babies.
Not yet. That's next.
Okay.
First, I just put, what in the 90s is this Absolver commercial? Because we break from the airport.
We flash away from the airport. Yeah.
To watch this commercial with Marianne Mobley, Glenn Collins. And
which I did actually think was a commercial for a second.
I did too. And I was like,
the commercials are so poorly placed in this show that I genuinely thought this was a commercial until I realized that they were talking about a famous person that I didn't know. So it couldn't be a current commercial.
Right. Well, they both passed away about 10 years ago. So yeah.
Right.
And so we see this commercial, and this is where we see that George is going to try to save a life. And my question is, wouldn't it not count since she interfered? Which is also what I said earlier. It's very repetitive for me through this episode. I feel it the entire time. And so she gets to this guy's office, and instead of being rational about anything, she tells them that when the woman's like, he's not going to see you, it's just not going to happen. She comes up with this elaborate story about how his son has drugged her and videoed her while homeless people assaulted her. And I was just like, you could have come up with a little more like down-to-earth story. There is something you could have done a little less. We went straight to 100.
How do you get a white-collar businessman CEO who's probably involved in criminal activity to actually pay attention to you other than something that insane?
Well, here's the thing. Because we're having these issues that we'll learn later on with this belt, if she would have done a little research, she would have known he was having these legal issues, and she could have come in and been like, my grandfather died from using this belt, and I need to talk to him immediately. Done. He would have like talked with her.
Yeah,
because he was in the middle of a legal suit.
But because he was involved in the legal suit, he could have just passed her off to his legal team and not done it personally. It had to be more personal.
I guess that's true.
I fully get. I mean, was it extreme? Yes. Do I fully get the thought process of going there right away? Also, yes.
Yes, that was just. It was a lot. So. Now we jump back. As I said, we just jump around a lot. We jump back after she tells this. We jump back to Rube at the airport. And he's saying, I'm going to kill that effing baby. And I was like, man, I've never like resonated with someone more. Because babies.
I think that we might have missed something just because of my next note being, ew, what the F? And I think I know what it was about.
Nope.
I maybe just didn't take notes for a very long time. That's also a possibility.
Do you have that before or after the airport scene? Mm-hmm. It jumps around a lot.
It jumps around a lot. I have it before a certain part of the airport.
Well, we'll just keep going, and
okay.
You let me know if it doesn't come out. So then he's like, I'm just kidding. And tries to be like super nice about it. And I just lost it. I was like, that's exactly what I would do. I would be the one yelling about a baby at an airport. Maybe not an airport, because I do understand, but like I do yell about people on the street when they like don't move. And then I'm like, oh, thanks for moving. Like, I'm that person. So I could definitely see that. And this is where they're here with Mason smuggling drugs in his bottom. And he's very uncomfortable. And then I'm very uncomfortable because I don't understand.
He wasn't that uncomfortable until he saw this drug-sniffing dog. And then he got uncomfortable because he was like, oh, this balloon of cocaine in my rectum.
And I'm very confused what's going on with them. I know at first they were trying to do the lady, but now I don't understand why they're smuggling drugs.
Well, and they are not smuggling drugs. Mason is smuggling drugs because he, instead of getting a job, he just is doing what he did to get money in his alive life too.
Sorry. Hush. Sorry. Do you hear her fierce growling?
I do.
My apologies, everyone. My dog is very fierce. So now we're back at the office in the internship.
Okay.
And Dolores is again being weird about the pap smear. She's like, did you get the results? When do you know? And she's just like,
oh, no, hold on. The ew, what the fuck? No, is before Dolores is being weird. Because George goes to Dolores' desk to talk to her. And Kathy, the secretary, is licking Dolores' phone.
Oh, yes, that part happens first. I was thinking of the
She's
next one.
licking the phone. And
this
George
is where we
like,
start a feud.
George is like, the fuck? And then George goes back to her desk, and Dolores happens to be sitting at her desk. He's like, how did it go? I was just writing you a note. But my ew note was about the phone licking. Part of it is because it's 2021. We're living in a post-COVID world, and the idea of anybody licking an inanimate object in a public office disgusts me to no end.
Yeah, not great. Not great. I mean, I also would not have done that in 2003, to be fair.
Well,
but
to be fair, I was 11 in 2003, so I might have.
I don't think I would have still. Yeah, and she makes up this whole thing about, she talks about the pap smear again, and she's like, she mentions a Bose catalog about going and buying this office supplies. I was like, oh my gosh, it's 2003 still. It's like, of course it is. My boss is like, get on Amazon if you need something and then just send me the link for whatever it is. When we don't have catalogs. Although I did get a nice catalog of puzzles the other day. That was very exciting. I had my name on it, everything. But I digress. So now we jump back to the airport, and they're getting questioned. And poor Mason, I mean, I guess it's his own fault, but poor Mason is stripped naked, and they are trying to find what's on him. And Rube's like getting just normal questioned because he was yelling about babies and stuff.
Mason is stripped naked.
Yeah.
And if you listened to our introduction to Dead Like Me episode, you will know that I'm obsessed with Callum Blue. So I got to see his butt, which was the highlight of my day.
Which happened while she was being a teacher at school. So she's a great influence.
I had a free period. My door was locked. There was no one in my classroom.
Sure. So then we see the scan of poor Mason's body, and we see the cocaine balloon break. So now Mason is just high as hell on cocaine for the rest of time. And as soon as we see that happen, we jump back to Joy and Reggie. And Joy's trying to set up some mother-daughter time because she doesn't know what to do with Reggie. And so she's trying her best. And then that's it. Then we leave that scene.
Yeah.
Sorry, it lasts about 10 seconds. And we go back to George at the office again. Apparently she's doing very well at her job. She's very well liked. And I resonated with George so hard right now. She said she's failing upwards. And I feel that. Like, I go into the office, I'm late, and I like sometimes take naps and I snack. And then my boss is like, you're doing a great job. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you so much. And they want George to come on for an extra day because Dolores loves her so much. And I'm just like, oh, I feel the struggle.
But George is intimidated by the other girl who licks
Crystal.
things.
Is her name Crystal?
Oh, it is Crystal. I thought it was Kathy, but it's not. It's Crystal. You're right.
No, Kathy's
It's
my
because she
boss.
looks
doesn't
like a
lick
Kathy.
things. Yeah. And are you okay? Bless you. That was
Thanks.
the weirdest sneeze I've ever heard, but bless you.
Don't make fun of my sneeze.
I didn't make fun of it. I was just stating a fact. Just stating a fact here.
Whatever. Yeah, no. So Crystal, who looks like a Kathy and licks things, is intimidating.
Right. And now we're back to the diner. I hope these are just as jarring for you as they are for me. We're back at the diner, and George, God bless her, casually mentions that her guy didn't show up. She's like, yes, my guy didn't show up, and I'll take the whatever she ordered, whatever. And Rube 0% believes her. He immediately just pushes her into the bathroom, and he's yelling at her, and he's like trying to tell her this, and he's like, basically, I'm giving up on you, like all this stuff, which is very sad for her. Well, for us, about her. And then poor Mason runs in there and is just dying. If this wasn't an ad to not do cocaine, I would like to tell you now, please do not do cocaine. I've never done it,
Honestly,
but it doesn't seem pleasant.
What Mason was experiencing in this moment, later in the episode, I think that was definitely an ad for not doing cocaine. In this moment, in this bathroom scene, I think what was actually being advertised was don't put foreign objects in your rectum. Also that.
I would also like to say don't do that. So we're just here to teach life lessons. That's it.
Life lesson from medicated and caffeinated. Don't put foreign objects in your rectum.
Yes. We did it. So now it seems George is in charge of Mason, even though it's probably supposed to be the other way around. She takes him back to his next location, and a guy is dead by the absolver, which shows she messed up.
Before I had one note, this was back when she was still at work, about how Dolores is actually kind of sweet.
She's very sweet. I love her.
I don't.
But she's too much.
I don't because of what happens at the later in this episode, but in that moment I was like, I don't remember why I hated Dolores so much.
We'll get back to that.
Yeah. But yeah,
So,
all of the deaths. Oh, well, before they leave the restaurant, when she says that she missed her, like her mark didn't show up, Rube is handing out about 58 post-its. He's like, sorry guys, last minute, there's a million deaths happening right now. And I was like, you do realize it's because you fucked up, right? Like, you're gonna put these pieces together?
I just put hashtag butterfly effect, hashtag belly fire. It's like, this is where we're at.
Yeah.
We didn't use hashtags in 2003. And we also see, so the Grimms are working overtime because there's so many people with all these belly fires, and we see the CEO guy or whatever beating up his son because he thinks that now he's assaulted and drugged George. Feel a little bad for him. I'm sure he's done something stupid because, you know, he's
a chair.
Yes, and he seems to have been raised with a lot of money, so I'm sure he's done something stupid. But not that he deserved this, because he didn't do anything this bad. Probably, hopefully. So poor Mason, while all this is happening, is still freaked the hell out because of the drugs. He's just like sitting in the booth shaking and like sweating, and Roxy comes over. My favorite conversation in the whole thing. She comes over to complain about something, and she looks at it, and she's just like, are you okay? And he just sits there and he says, I've got illegals in my bottom. And I lost it.
Also,
like, that is
and when we're back at that restaurant and George is, or and Mason starts crying about the illegals in his bottom. Mason is crying. George is crying. And I was like, why is everybody a little bitch right now?
There's a lot going on. They got a lot to deal with. And George knows she messed up. And I think Rube says it best. She's pulled the wrong piece out of the Jenga puzzle. And I'm going to start telling people that.
Analogy. Love that analogy. Yeah, so she pulls the wrong piece out of the Jenga puzzle, and it takes her far too long to realize that all of these deaths are her fault.
Right. Well, not too terribly long, because as soon as she gets home, the Gravelings start messing with her. And they're like poltergeist. He says, sleep with the light on, and boy should she, because these Gravelings just keep knocking things over. Yeah, they push her in her Murphy bed.
She was like, I don't know if this is a threat. Nope, not a threat. I promise.
Yep. And but unfortunately at this point, Rube's turned his back on her because he just can't. He just can't anymore, and I get it.
But Rube has not turned his back on poor Mason, who he lets sleep on his floor.
Yes. But before that, we come back and we start seeing the feud develop in the office.
Oh.
Crystal just sneezes all over George's computer, and I was like, this is the grossest thing. I don't care how healthy you are. This is disgusting. And then we snap real fast to Joy cleaning out, going through Reggie's room, just trying to figure out why she's acting out so much. She finds the dead bird in a box. She tries really hard to throw it out. And we jump back while she's trying to throw it out. We jump back to Mason and Rube in the diner. And when George shows back up, Rube leaves. This is where we have a lot of things happening at once. We jump back and forth a lot. More than they have been.
No, but he doesn't leave right away. He starts to leave. But they have a conversation. And George is basically like, well, like, Mason's a complete fuck up. And he just goes, this is not your role model.
Right?
Correct.
Accurate. Yes.
And then
the guy who has cocaine in his bottom.
Mason's like, listen, I've seen Rube stay mad for years. But he likes you. So he won't stay mad that long. She's like, okay, so like, what's it going to be? Days, weeks? He goes, what's that one that's bigger than
the next one?
She was like, months. He was like, that's the one.
That's the one.
So George is a little upset because she thinks that Rube's going to stay mad at her for months.
Yes. Now we jump back to Reggie and Joy, and we have a heart-to-heart time. And Joy is drinking wine, which I can only assume is Source of Joy wine, because that's her name. It's a rosé.
Joy trying to talk to Reggie after having drank half a bottle of wine is why I stopped drinking.
I felt her so hard in this moment. Like, she has a stalker. Well, she knows her daughter's dead. She has a stalker woman now because she doesn't know it's her daughter. And Reggie is losing it. And now she's found a dead bird in her house. Like, there's no better reason to drink wine.
She's like, I don't like the path we're going down. I don't.
She's like, I've had to call animal control. The garbage men wouldn't even take it. Like, poor thing. So we jump back to the diner, and Roxy and George are chatting about, I don't even remember what, because I just had to pull this quote out of Roxy. She says, finding out something about, like, finding something out is the same as finding out someone's parents are psychiatrists or raised Catholic. It's like,
now,
so
fun fact about what we find out in this conversation, super important conversation actually, is that that missed appointment of Roxy's.
Yep.
She also found a loophole and cheated death. And now her shit is falling apart too.
And everything starts to come together. This is the man who was giving her those, what are they called? Peanut poppies every day. It was the one light of joy in her sad life as a ticket person. And she finds out he's supposed to die. And she's like, not a chance. Not gonna happen. And so everything makes sense again. It wasn't quite as extreme as 1,000 people dying from app solvers, but
right. But the Gravelings are also attempting to kill Roxy.
yes. So then we are now back in our feud with Crystal, and George puts dog poop under Crystal's desk. It turns out the same time as Crystal is messing with her lamp so that it will blow out. And they just can't get it together.
But they call a truce.
And they decide to call a truce. And so her and Crystal are going to be all right now. So we've finished up that feud. We are moving on. We switch over to Joy and Reggie. They're learning taxidermy.
Hold on. The feud is over. But when the light bulb breaks, George smacks her leg on the desk and swears. And then Dolores shows her true colors. Reminds me why I hate her. And she's like, all of that love and building up of George for the whole episode, one swear word later, she's like, oh, no.
And George is like, I'm so sorry. She tries so hard to suck back up to Dolores. Dolores is just like, that spark is gone.
Nope. All of her love. Gone forever with one measly fuck.
One swear word. And so then we go back to Joy and Reggie, and they are learning taxidermy. And Reggie is stoked. Joy is not. But she wants to bond with her daughter. So here we are.
But also, they're taxidermying birds. And I am obsessed.
Well, we know she loves a good bird.
Well, listen, bird taxidermy keeps popping up on this podcast. We should just go to a bird taxidermy class.
That would be interesting. I wouldn't say no. But you will have to come to New York because I do not have time to leave the city. So
I don't have time.
If you ever come down here, we'll go to a bird taxidermy class.
Okay.
And we are at the last and final scene of this episode, which almost made me start crying. But I did not, because I'm a strong person. Rube is cooking pasta. And he steps out into the hallway, and he's like, made this pasta. I don't remember what it was, but he was like talking about it. And he's like, all right. Like he's telling somebody to come to dinner. And he goes and sits down. Has 2 places set up. He pours a glass of wine. And it's like he's eating dinner with 2. And I said, I bet that he does this every night. I bet it's his dead wife. And that makes me so sad. And do not tell me if I'm right or wrong. I know in your face you want to tell me. But I was so sad. And that's one of my predictions this week. And that's how it ended. And I was like, oh, happy ending. Great. Wonderful.
When I watched that scene, I was like, oh, I remember all of Rube's backstory, and I have so many feelings.
I knew I was going to have a lot of feelings. I was like, great. We're going to have some real sad times for Rube now. But it was so beautiful. I was so sad. So, and that's the end. That's the happy ending. Happy ever after. So, some trivia. When Rube and Mason discuss the salmon mousse, and he's like, have you ever been poisoned? And Rube says, I had some bad salmon once. And Mason says, was it salmon mousse? And he says, no, it was canned. That was a tribute to Monty Python's The Meaning of Life from 1983. And I may or may not have seen that. I've seen a lot of random Monty Python stuff, so I don't know if I've seen that specifically. But there's also a really funny parrot sketch from Monty Python. Bless you.
Thank you.
Some connections in this episode. Roxy mentions the $6 million man from 1974. Just a mention. And,
well, okay, she mentions the $6 million man and the bionic woman and the bionic man. She can't figure out what she's talking about.
Right. And then she also mentions Three's Company, which is funny because she's comparing the Absolver. She never says it, but to the Thigh Master.
Yeah.
Which I think she says, but was it Summer?
She says the big tits girl from Three's Company.
Right.
What she calls
right.
Her.
I've forgotten her name. I think it's something Summer. So
yeah.
Suzanne Summers. Yeah. And I was like, my mom absolutely had a Thigh Master. And I was listening to Wine and Crime recently, and they were talking about exercise crimes. And Amanda did a whole shtick about exercise equipment that does not work. And we learned that Thigh Master absolutely is pointless.
Correct.
It works muscles that you do not ever need. So that was funny. But I've absolutely used a Thigh Master. And they do not work. So that's all my trivia. There wasn't a whole lot happening. No goofs. I already said my favorite quotes throughout while I was talking, so not a lot of favorite quotes. So who do you want to punch this episode?
Honestly, even though I find it endearing, kind of want to punch Roxy for making George out to be a bad guy when she did the same thing.
See that? I can see that. I think I want to punch George. She just made the dumbest decision. She killed like 60 people.
That's fair. I mean, she did kill a lot of people.
So, and this guy that she was supposed to save was like, he wasn't young. Wasn't like he was like 25.
Right.
Probably didn't have too much life ahead of him. He had a long legal battle ahead of him. He didn't really have anything to live for. So, like, she just messed it all up. So I'm gonna go with George this episode.
Fair.
Yeah. So what about your MVP? Stop it. You can't say the same person every week.
I know, I can't. So I'm gonna have to pick Joy this week. Just because I related to her so much this episode.
Fair.
With a special mention to Mason's butt.
I wasn't expecting that. Just caught me off guard. Excellent mention. My MVP is gonna be Rube. Because it was so sad. I feel so bad for him. I don't even know what's happened, and I feel bad for him.
I didn't pick Rube, not because I picked him last week, but because I knew you were gonna pick it.
It was so sad. I love him so much. He's doing his best.
Oh.
So some predictions. We did not learn anyone's backstory in these 2 episodes. My prediction is that we're going to learn more about Roxy next episode, because we've learned that she has this little thing where she's not always on the straight and narrow. And so I think we're going to learn a little more about her in one of the next episodes.
My prediction, and this is completely off base and something that I do not remember at all, I think there's going to have to be some kind of showdown, drama, something with George's dad, because he kind of hasn't been
Forgot about him.
Right, like that's the thing, is you forgot about him. So there's got to be something next episode to make him relevant again.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. So I think maybe Reggie may calm down a bit next episode for at least an episode or 2, because she's got, well, like her and Joy are bonding. They're doing taxidermy, so she doesn't have as much a reason to act out right now.
True.
I don't think it's over forever, but I do think maybe we're going to take like a break for an episode or 2. So that's kind of where I feel like she's going.
It's fair.
Maybe
George will like actually follow the rules.
Debatable.
I mean, yeah.
I feel like maybe she's going to try to follow the rules and still mess up something next episode. Because it is about time that like she's like stepped out a lot. Like that's, and she's kind of hit all of the errors.
Obviously there's got to be some conflict, but like
right.
The conflict can't continue to be her wanting to break the rules, because then it would get boring.
Right. Yeah. And I think this is probably a good time for her to like try to do better. I think you're right.
Well, let us know what your predictions are, and get in touch with us on all of the social media at Death and Aliens. You can talk to me at EMKAY_superstar.
And you can find me at CECloud13.
And as you can tell by the incessant sneezing toward the end of this episode, my allergy medicines have worn off, and I should probably go to bed.
I should have said I'm going to eat dinner or skip it today. We'll see what happens.
And we'll talk to you guys on Sunday.
See ya. Bye.